but yeah, I stopped plugging it on the YouTube because I felt like it wasn't converting very well, and so I'd rather ask people to subscribe than to go to the Patreon. And it was kind of an experiment, so it wasn't as successful as I thought. Like it was, if the Patreon generated, somewhere around like $3,000-4,000 a month, then it was probably
Yeah.
worth plugging, but the conversion wasn't enough. So, but I think there's some valuable things from it. Like, I mean, I think that what it will eventually evolve to is not using Patreon, but having some kind of a membership, yeah, capability, like with Simple Programmer, where some of the more popular things like the Facebook group access, I think, and having access to do these hangouts, something like that might be what it evolves to. Or I was actually toying around with Josh about possibly, we were talking about today, maybe making something that's a membership that's maybe, say, something around $50 a month, and what it would include would be access to a more exclusive Facebook group of other people that are really serious about their careers and improving themselves, and then maybe something like the Hangouts here, and then having access to all of the Simple Programmer products and anything that comes out. So kind of an unlimited type of access, and maybe a few other kind of perks that we could put in there. But I think that's what it'll eventually evolve to, is something like that. But we'll see.
Seems like, I mean, the whole like all like your stuff that you put out for like that price, and then everything you will put out, that just seems like a pretty good deal because you're constantly like creating stuff. So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking,
for
especially as
one
we start.
person's feedback, seems like a pretty good deal.
All right, cool. Yeah, I was thinking also, just the idea of as we start ramping things up, as we get the systems in place and start producing more content, then that'll be more and more valuable, or more products. So that's one thing I'm probably going to try and get to doing next year. So, hey, Gabriel, how's it going? All right, cool. So yeah, so I figured we'll just do the Hangouts, and now that we've got a lower number of people, and if we have to scale up, we can. Cool. Well, glad you could make it as well. And I just put it on the Patreon page and on the calendar thing, because I think that there's a lot of people that are on the calendar that aren't on the subscribe list. It's funny, whenever you launch something like that, like with the Patreon, you just don't anticipate all the things that are going to happen or go wrong. So,
Right.
how have you been?
I've been doing pretty good. I put a Android app out on beta, dealing with like, I had never done any Android development before, and I wanted to teach myself, so create an app to do cash flow calculation for rental properties.
Oh, nice,
So,
cool.
I
Okay.
was sort of interested in that too. Like I'm still saving up. Like bought a house a few months ago, and still saving up like a down payment to get like a first rental property or whatever. But figured I would create an app for that, and still refining it before I put it out on like the main Play Store or whatever. It's probably gonna be free, but that was also for like potential like job hunting stuff. I know I asked you last time about like the whatnot. So I asked my not my team lead, but like my immediate supervisor, and they're like, "I'd love to give you a raise." I was like, "Great." They said, "But I don't have the authority to." I'm like, "Well, come on."
Yeah.
So Monday the 12th, I'm talking with the person who does have the authority to give me the raise.
Oh, perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So hopefully that'll go well.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to read that book? The uh, what is it called?
Yeah, I'm doing like, I have like the Audible subscription. So
Yep.
I started doing that maybe, I don't know, 3 months ago or whatever. And so every month I've been getting a book. And so the last one, I just got that book and listened to it. And I'm listening to it through for a second time. It's got some really good stuff in it.
Yeah, that's a really good book. That's definitely, like, there's a lot of stuff from there that I picked up that I think is really useful. So that's cool.
Some of it I wasn't expecting. Like I've heard, the like, get to yes kind of theory promoted, but I like to like give them the no first, let them have their no, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
get to yes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you think about it, and so many times, like it's. I think the yes thing was more effective in the past, but we've all been subjected to it so many times where you can tell that someone's just trying to get you to say yes multiple times, and I think it still has some effectiveness to it, but
Mm.
addressing I think today in the marketplace, genuineness in transparency is what is more effective and sells better, is because it's so rare. We're used to someone having an angle, I think, and so I think when we do that no thing, it's like, okay, you're addressing their concern, like they know you're going to be at least genuine and transparent because you're giving them the no, the ability to say no first, and you're not pulling some kind of just tactic there. So I think that's definitely a powerful concept. I'm reading another FBI book called The Like Switch, which is also very very interesting. I haven't gotten very far into it, but so far it's pretty interesting. It's essentially about how to get people to quote like you, and what the guy that wrote this was like an FBI interrogator, and he basically would like take agents like spies, and he would get them to, that when they're caught, to admit to what they're doing and give details. And he would do it by, he's got this formula. It's essentially, it works like this. It's like, the basic idea is that proximity is like the number one thing. So if you're in proximity with someone, that is one of the key elements to get them to like you. So he would just sit in the interrogation room reading a newspaper, not doing anything, just every day for like weeks, sitting next to this guy, right? And that established the proximity, right? And then let's see, what are the other elements? So it's proximity, and then it's the I want to say duration, like how long you're there, like, or how long you're with that person, and then the intensity, like what you're talking about or what you're doing in the interactions with them. And then I think there was one more element I'm forgetting. Duration, I don't know, but it's a real good. It makes sense. It's a formula that when you see it, it kind of clicks. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And when you think about it, like, especially that proximity is so true. It's so key. Like, it's very difficult. Like, if you spend any amount of time, if I guarantee you, if I put you in a group with 7 people and you like spend the next month like every day together, you're going to have a very high chance of liking those people. That's just how we kind of are wired to in that kind of tribal way, even if it's people that you would like politically you would not like at all, right? And I think that's why also, like, we have with social media today, that we have so much divisiveness, is because people on Facebook they
Very
don't have proximity.
yeah.
So they can, like,
Not just physically, but like you're not even like doing this. Like, you're looking at someone and talking to them like a human being. You're chatting to you're writing a nasty letter to somebody. The confrontation's not there, and the danger of retaliation really isn't there either.
exactly, yep. Let's see, what's the rating I find, reducing the amount of info. So that's interesting, Gabriel. I think, as far as I think I've got two thoughts. I actually did a video on this that'll be coming out pretty soon. But because I read a lot of books, right? I'm listening to like 2 to 3 audiobooks a week sometimes, and getting through them. And so I think that there's sort of a balance, and it depends on what you're trying to do. So the audiobooks I try to listen to are more of the kind of ideas I want to put in my head and get multiple exposures to, whereas they're not so much plans for taking action. Those kind of books, I think I'm more likely to read on my Kindle or get the paperback version and more study it because I have a purpose. I feel like one of the things that's really important is that like in order to learn something, you have to take action. And so like to actually like learn a skill or something like that, because you're not just gonna, so if you want to learn a programming language, reading a programming book is not sufficient. You got to actually do it and create an app. Otherwise you're just going to kind of lose that knowledge. So I think you could kind of take two different modes of learning. So on one hand, you know, if I always say that like if you want to learn something, I want to learn X so I can do Y. And so you got to have the whys. And so you start with the whys. So there's a one type of learning where it's like, okay, I want to be able to do this. Like Travis just said, I want to build an Android app. So what did he do? He didn't just read about Android. He built an Android app. You know, you want to learn this so that you can do this, right? And so that's going to stick. That makes sense. So there's that type of learning, and you got to do it that way. There you got to slow down. There you got to take action. There you got to actually be building or doing something that's going to facilitate that. And then there's the other type of learning where it's sort of like a learning, kind of an osmosis, like expanding your mind, expanding your ideas, changing your beliefs to some degree. And that is more of the, I reserve that for the times which I think Tony Robbins calls it like I'm not sure if he's got a phrase for it, but I think maybe Gary Vaynerchuk calls it net time, or maybe Tony does, I don't know, but net time, where it's like, it's time that you're not specifically taking out of your day, that you're not adding to your day. So for example, when I'm running, right? If I'm going to run 10 miles and it's going to take me like 2 hours, what am I doing during that time? Like if I put an audiobook in my ears while I'm running during that time, it didn't cost me anything. I didn't have to devote any extra time. I'm going to be spending that time anyway. And there's nothing else I can really be doing during that time besides running. I mean, I could listen to music, but that doesn't really benefit me that much. Same thing when I'm driving in a car, right? I can't really do much else than listen to audiobooks. So I kind of try and do that. And I realize that with some of these books, I'm not getting the most out of them because I'm not taking the action. I'm not applying necessarily the things, but because I'm hitting such a volume of content and new ideas into my head, and I'm getting some of those ideas rehashed from, because very similar. A lot of self-development books have the same thing. Exactly. Yeah. It's changing my thought patterns and stuff. And some of the books I'll go back and I'll revisit and things like that. And I've kind of debated, like at some point I might go and focus more on, pick a few good books out and go through them very slowly. But it's again, I think there's in both consumption and production, there's two basic strategies. One of them is sort of the home run approach, where you're very detailed and you're very slow and very much trying to either create the best content or to absorb the content as much as possible. And then the other one is to be extremely prolific, where you're just you're either creating a ton of stuff and you're not worrying about the quality because that will improve, or you're consuming a bunch of stuff and you're just not worrying about it sticking because if you consume enough stuff is going to stick to give you the benefit. And I tend to be on the side of, I'm not a very detailed oriented person. So I tend to be on the side of the prolific side, where I just either consume a ton of content and produce a ton of content. And that works for me. But I know other people that go to the other side, and it's very successful for them as well. So, but I do think that you need to pick one at least at any given time. So there's my detailed answer.
I have a question related to books and book publishing. Like one of the things I'm doing right now is the game programming stuff that I work on. I'm teaching myself one of the frameworks related to the language I do, and as I'm doing that, I'm sort of like writing a tutorial as I'm learning, and I want to turn that sort of into a short self-published book or whatever. What platform would you recommend, or did you get started with, for just like maybe not even charging for it, but just like as sort of a hook initially, and sort of like establishing authority initially in the field?
Oh, for book, for your distribution for a book?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I actually,
just ebook wise.
Yeah. So I was answering. It's funny you're asking the question. I just did a video on this, I swear, too.
Nice.
just yesterday when it won't come out for a while because I was doing the professional high quality recordings with my camera guy. But essentially what I had kind of come up with here was that if it's your first, like what you want to do is you want to build an audience, right? Because that's the key, is because I think the guy was asking, he was actually asking, should I do a product or a book first? And if so, how do I do it? And how do I market it and stuff like that? And I was saying,
a book a product.
well, I think, yeah, I think he was thinking like a different kind of like a video product or something like that.
Right.
But essentially my answer was that's kind of the wrong question. You want to build an audience, right? Because that's the value is, if you have an audience, you can sell. It doesn't matter what you're selling, really, to be honest with you, like as long as
I mean, and this wasn't even to sell. This is just sort of like a learning experience, both in like creating a book, writing a book, publishing a book, and and turning that into, or something I'm learning into a publishable kind of thing.
Yeah. So you still want to get the maximum exposure and value out of it. And honestly,
Right.
I would put a price tag on it, even if you put a low price tag, just because it's scary to charge for that, right? To charge for something. That's another thing to overcome. But it's great if you do, for a couple of reasons. One of them, just getting over that fear, because you're going to have to get used to doing that. It's something good to get over. And then the second one is just to create more value in the thing, because if it's free, it doesn't look like it has as much value, for at least for the most part. The exception being maybe Android apps, or because people expect to not pay for most of those type of things. But for a book, I would, even if you just do like a $5 price, that's cool. And most people, that's going to be like an instant decision. But as far as like the effectiveness, so one of the things, like if you don't already have a large audience, I would try to get a traditional book publisher deal if you can, especially if you've already finished the book and it's fairly decent. Even if it's not super long, like you can still possibly, you can go in, it doesn't hurt to go and pitch it. And even if it's like here's the short version of the book, but I could make a longer version of the book. But the reason why I say that is because that's going to help you to get the distribution in the audience, right? If you don't have it, right? And I think that's valuable. Like with my book, with Soft Skills, the reason why I went with a traditional publisher was definitely not to make money, because I mean, I did okay with it, but that wasn't the plan. It was to hit their distribution as much as possible, to grow the audience. So that's where I would, it's very hard to get traction on a book without that sort of momentum that you get from an audience. Like for my new book, I'm going to be self-publishing it, and I'm going to put it on, my plan is to look at sites like bookbaby.com. That's one you might look into as well, and using the Kindle Direct Publishing, and I'm also going to get a on-demand print book that I'll put on Kindle, and put it through as many platforms as possible. But I'm going to have momentum, because when I announce it to the list, a bunch of people are going to buy. It's going to cause the rank to go up on Amazon. Like I've got the ability to do that and sell the book directly now, whereas with my first book, it wasn't quite as easy. So if you can, I mean, and normally I don't recommend packed publishing, just because they're kind of the spammy book sellers, and they're not as are you familiar with Pact, like PAKT?
No, like, I mean, I've never done any publishing stuff, book writing stuff. In fact, I don't even really have much of an audience as far as my blog goes. Like, it would be sort of like a audience building, list building tool.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
And I think you can still use it that way and still have a price that you put on it, and even with a price on it, you could give it away for free, right? But if you have, and that's the other thing, is like, if you want to give it away for free to build your list, it's going to be better if you have a price. If you're selling it on Amazon, you've got a price, because then you're realistically saying, I'm giving you this thing that costs this much money, but I'm giving it to you for free, as opposed to something where it's like it's actually designed to be free. So yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long or what the depth is. let's see. Oh yeah, I'll get to your valuable platform for your audience. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I would try and see if you can get a publisher. I mean, you might as well approach a bunch of them and give them your idea. I mean, I know you're you're probably like, I'm just trying to do this small thing, but you know,
Exactly. I am just trying to do this small thing as a learning experience. You're like, no, sell it, get your fully published stuff. I'm like, okay.
well,
Take
the
it
thing
under
is like,
advisement.
yeah, if you go through that effort, right, you might as well do the little bit more. It doesn't take a whole lot more effort to send a proposal and a quick summary of the book to like 5 of the major technical publishers, and to name drop that John Sonmez told me to do that, right? Because I'm totally give you
All right,
permission to
I'll
do
name
that.
drop and see where it gets.
I was like, oh, that racist bastard, no way. But could work
Yeah,
out for you.
everybody
Could
knows
work
him
out
around
for
here.
you. But you know what I mean? Like it doesn't take a lot more effort to put a price on it, to drop it in a few stores, to try and court a publisher. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. Like, but I would, if you're going to do that amount of effort of writing a book, then you might as well do that. You just don't have to count on it. Like, you don't have to say,
Yeah.
I mean, you can still make it the small thing that I'm doing just, for my learning experience, but you never know. Like, you should always take those extra shots, because it could work out great. I mean, you could have a best-selling book that's, like it could be some of these things you never know. So,
Right.
oh, so, g-
No problem, Gabriel.
yeah, no problem, dude.
I don't want to monopolize the call.
Well, there's only 3 of us, so we should be. uh, yeah. So, oh, okay. Yeah. So, Gabriel, it's kind of funny. I think platform wise, well, so again, like I'll go back to that book, to that Like Switch book that I was talking about. I actually like video the best. I like YouTube the best, and it works really well for me, because a lot of what I say and a lot of my ideas are very controversial, and they can rub people the wrong way. And I can come off, sometimes people will not like what I have to say. But if you're watching me say it, if you see my face, if you see my expressions, you can tell that I care. I think that's one of the key reasons why I love the YouTube platform, is because it's one thing to write an inflammatory post on Facebook or on a blog post and something, and people don't, there's a lot of communication that's missing there. And I'm not saying, people definitely get pissed off at my YouTube videos. It happens, but at least at that point, it's like, I don't know, you're connecting at a different level, and you can see that I'm my motivation is to help you. Like, you might disagree, I might be wrong, it's fine, but I honestly want to see you succeed and do better, and that's why I'm telling you this, not because I just want to piss people off. And I think that is very, very hard to communicate in other mediums. So that's why I like that platform, and it seems to be the most effective. Now, it's hard to say what's most effective, because I'm devoting a lot of energy to YouTube, because it's the platform that I like. I mean, I'm doing 2 to 3 videos a day, and so I'm seeing the most growth there. As far as like sheer numbers, YouTube, I believe right now I'm hitting about 400,000 views per month on YouTube, whereas on the blog it's around 200,000. So YouTube has surpassed and doubled the blog growth. Now, it depends on what medium for what, right? That's also, I think, what is important is what platform you're using for what. So in terms of selling, as far as selling goes, YouTube is not good. Yeah. So YouTube is sort of a branding move and getting people to email, right? So if you look at all my YouTube descriptions, the first thing is to sign up for email, because the only platform for selling, in my opinion, is email. And I can tell you, like, just looking at my numbers, that 95% of my sales come from email, because that's just so much more effective than anything else. That's why it's so important, if you're building a business, to build an email list, is because that's how it's almost a magic box. It's almost like it's a money printing machine, an email list. And I kid you not. So yeah, exactly. Yep. And that's, it's crazy. Like I can literally look at how big is my email list, and I can tell you that if I launch a product or I do a sale, like, I mean, we just did the Cyber Monday sale. I think on that Cyber Monday sale, we were looking at like 16K of revenue. And that's because the list size is about 45,000 people, and you can extrapolate that. And I can tell you, if I had 450,000 people on my list, I would have done $116,000 worth of sale, or 161,000, I guess it would be. It would be 10x more. And if you had or if you had 4.5 million people on your list, I mean, you can do $1 million launches. So building the list is critical as far as, if you want to sell something. Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. I had no idea either. Like you would, it's so weird too, because you would think that, if you put up a blog post and say, here, buy this thing, that people would respond and buy it. But it's email. I don't know why. I think it's so much of a more personal medium. It's immediate. You have to deal with it. It's in your inbox, and that's, and you can put time constraints around that, which the urgency helps for selling. But I've even, yeah.
I think it's one of the reasons is it comes to you versus you having to go to the website to find a blog post or whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So you're asking about whether or not to do email marketing or like paid advertising, Gabriel? Yeah. So what I'm doing, I haven't done a lot of paid advertising because I haven't been able to get it to work. I actually haven't spent a lot of time in it because I prefer organic traffic because it's free. and that's something that you can scale up and count on. But we're actually doing some paid advertising now at Simple Programmer. You've probably seen some ads following you around. And what the strategy is that I want to advertise to you in order to convert you to email. And then from an email course, then we're making sales from there. So that's the plan, because I've tried to do some paid advertising directly to courses. It's abysmal, the conversion rate. Like you're just not going to sell without the trust and without building that relationship. It's very, very, very hard, unless, I mean, it could depend on the product. If someone's got a headache and you're selling aspirin versus via paid advertising, they're probably going to go and buy that. But I haven't been able to find a way to make paid advertising work. It's even difficult to convert to email, but to work to directly purchase a product and make it anywhere profitable. Because when you think about it, like for paid advertising, you're going to be paying, somewhere around, 80 cents to maybe up to $3 or more per click. And so if you think about that, right, let's say that you're paying $1 a click on paid advertising, which is really good. If you're able to do that, it's probably unlikely, but let's say that you're able to do that. So let's say that you're selling a $200 product. Okay. So if it's $1 a click, if you get 100 clicks and you sell one product, so 1% conversion rate, then you get $200 and you paid 100 for it. So you net 100. It seems like that math would work, but in actuality, your conversion rate on an ad like that is probably going to be a lot less, and your cost per click is probably going to be more. So, but so we could say, okay, if you get a 0.5% conversion rate, you break even. That's 0.5% is pretty hard on cold traffic like that too. So I mean, you're realistically a lot of times maybe you're looking at like 0.25%. If even, or maybe like 0.1%. And at that point, you've got to, some people, excuse me, make it work, but where they have a lot for on the back end. So they have more products to sell, and they make more money on the back end. So they lose money on the front end. So for email, that's a good question. So for email, if you think about conversion rates on email, typically if I do, it depends on the price point, and it depends on the kind of offer that I'm making. But I typically expect, if I launch a product, something around somewhere between $100 and $300 range on email, or if I do a sale on a product of that scope, then I'm going to get a at least a 1% conversion, perhaps a 2 or 3% conversion. So that's huge, right? So again, and we could probably work those numbers. Like I said that, I think that like this Black Friday sale or the Cyber Monday sale, I think we probably sent to 40,000 people, and I'm trying to think how many sales. I have to look at the actual number of sales. It was like, well, let me see. It was like something around, let's say $15,000 divided by, it's like $79. So 190 sales. So if you take 40,000 people times 0.01, that's 400. So I guess in this case, it's somewhat close to around 1% on this sale. Maybe a little bit less than that, but it's definitely higher and that's with a sale, like with the launch of a product, and it depends on the activity of your list, right? But with the launch of a product, you could realistically expect 1 to 2%, and some people have lists where they'll generate 5%, so it depends. And it depends on price point too. If you launch something, well, so to give you an idea too, with the new book that I'm working on, when I launch that, the book itself is probably going to have a price point around, I don't even know yet, maybe like $15 or $20, maybe 30 at the max. With something at that low of a price point, I'm expecting the conversion rate on the list, and especially based on what it is, to be somewhere around 10%. I expect to sell thousands of copies of the book with that. So there's kind of this 80-20 curve on it. If I were to launch like say a $3,000 product to my list, I would sell some. It wouldn't be a lot, but I would sell some. It'd be a much lower conversion rate. Let me see here. Oh, okay. I just realized it. So, okay. Email costs a lot less per click in money, but a lot more work to build an email list than just making a paid app. Paid ad. Yes, email does cost a lot less per click in money. It's not even, we're not even talking per click. It's per subscriber. It takes more work to build an email list, but an email list, okay, so a paid ad is like, I'm trying to think of a comparison. This will be a funny one. A paid ad is like robbing a bank. A email list is like owning a bank. That's, because like if you run a paid ad and you make money off of it, you make money off of it one time, right? And that's it. You're done. Okay, you don't have that pool to dip into. But if you've got an email list and you build that email list, yes, it takes more time, it takes more effort. It does start to go on autopilot. It took a huge amount of content for Simple Programmer, right, for me but I've got a ton of content out there, and people are coming, they're searching, they're finding it, they're subscribing, right? So we're getting like 200 subscribers a day to the email list. That's pretty big, right? So, but once you get that going, it's like owning the bank. Now you're making money off of that asset that you have, and you can dip into that anytime. I don't want to make it sound nonchalant, like it's not take advantage of people, but I know several marketers that when they're in a cash crunch, they're like, well, shit, I'm going to just send an email to my list and sell something. And it's like an ATM withdrawal. Like they literally know they're going to make money from this thing. They're going to get cash. So that's how I would compare it. And you can use the advertising in order to build your list, right? Someone who's famous for that is Tai Lopez. A lot of people hate him, but he's a really smart marketer. And what he did was he spent a shit ton of money on advertising, on these crazy YouTube ads and all this stuff, and he still does. But what he did was he built up this ridiculously huge list and built up this huge audience by paying into it. And now he's got a gold mine. I mean, this guy's sitting on a gold mine. He's got this huge list. And whenever he sells something or launches a product, he just did this mentor box thing. I'm sure he made a fortune on that because he's got that list. So that's an asset. So that does that make sense? Cool. So let me see. So Travis, he said, what do you think about using the book or chapters of the book to build an email list initially when you don't have an audience? So it's funny you should say that, because I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing right now with, even though I have an audience, I'm still doing that with my current book. I think that's a great idea. I'm releasing my book in chapters for free on my blog every week. A new chapter comes out, and and a lot of people, a lot of email signups are coming to get the book, to get the chapters, to get that for free. So I think that's, releasing the chapters makes sense. I don't think it'll actually even, I don't think it'll hurt your sales. I think it'll increase your sales. That's what, a lot of people think I'm crazy, and they're saying, well, why are you giving away this for free? But my answer is, if I get people to sign up for the book via email, because they're giving away for free, a huge percentage of those people are going to buy the book in the print version or the Kindle version or the audio version when it comes out. Even though they may have read it on the blog, or maybe they read some of the chapters on the blog and it was too much a hassle to try and find them all. They want it all in one place, or they liked it. So I think that's a good way to generate an audience. And then you can actually, it's not going to hurt you either from a sales perspective. Let's see. So when you don't have traffic to your blog yet. So I know a guy, maybe you guys know him. He goes by Big Brandon Carter on YouTube. He's a friend of mine, and he actually is implementing a strategy. He's got a best-selling book on Amazon called, like, what is it called? It's something like Fat Burning Secrets or something like that. And he basically put out a very short ebook. Oh yeah, you saw the interview. So he put out a short ebook, and I think he charges like $3 or something like that. It's very cheap, and he puts it on Amazon, and sometimes he gives it away for free for the deals. And it's basically like he's not making money from selling this book for $3. I mean, he's making some, but the idea is it's his list building, his audience building. It's a lead magnet for him using the Amazon platform, because he doesn't have as much SEO traffic coming to him. He's got mostly YouTube traffic that's coming in, and he can kind of promote it through there. So that can work as well, to leverage someone else's platform to try and do that. And you could also do deals with, you could find people that have platforms, that have audiences, and you could offer the book for free to their audience or something like that. Those are hard. Everyone talks about those things. They're harder to do than it sounds, right? It sounds good, but those things are hard. But it is possible to do that as well. Audience, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time. Consistency and persistence is what's key to do that. I mean, you look at how long I've been doing this stuff at Simple Programmer and how much content I've put out over the years. It took a really, really long time to build up an audience. But it's worth it, because if you have an audience, you have income for life, right? At this point, with building Simple Programmer and having enough of an audience, like I would never need to, if I could always produce income. So.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I have a question. I know in your book and whatever, you talk about like going and commenting on people's blogs and whatnot, and like as sort of a way to build traction and whatnot. What do you think was like your biggest kind of point where you started getting people to come to your blog from that? Or would you say that was or was not like kind of the thing that led to you getting a lot of people reading your blog?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a lot of things. Again, like I said, there's different strategies that different people use. Mine is really, on the side of being as prolific as possible. And there's a few things that happen when you do that. One of them is that you have there's two ways that you basically gain audience when you do that, and that I did. One of them is the long tail, right? If you just produce a shit ton of content, like obscure search terms, people are eventually going to stumble in and find you because there's so much surface area out there for them to hit. And that's kind of been my strategy with YouTube. Is it's like, if I'm producing just a ton of videos, right, you're gonna find me. Like there's more stuff for you to hit, more obscure stuff that you might search on, and you find me, and then I'm pointing you to the rest of my videos and stuff. And so that's one thing, and that has worked both on YouTube and for the blog for me for building an audience. And the second one is that when you produce a ton of stuff, eventually some of that stuff does really well and you hit home runs on it. And so there were certain blog posts that I've done that boosted things way up. They got on Hacker News, all of a sudden I had, 20,000 visitors in one day. A lot of people linked back to it. I had one post where the editor of Wired magazine linked to it in his personal blog, and that gave me backlink juice. So it increased my SEO. So I started getting more traffic. And the similar thing happens in YouTube as well, right? When you get a real popular video, then they give you more relevance in search and things like that. So that's kind of, so going back to kind of the commenting on blogs. So I did that early on, and that did help early on. It's just like, you have to do certain things at certain levels, because some people said, oh, well, commenting on blogs, that doesn't really work. That's not going to get you a lot of traffic, and it seems like a waste of time. And it's like, well, yeah, but when you're getting like 5 visits on your blog per day, and you comment on 10 different software development blogs every day, and that generates you 10 more visits per day on average, that's 3 times. That's good. That's the most productive activity.
You're looking at percentages. It's
right.
Pretty good.
So that's good. And the thing is, like, you got to get, like, because there's this momentum thing, right? There's this tipping point. A good book is actually Tipping Point. But when you reach that momentum, that tipping point, like, you get enough people, they share it, like, you have chances of other things, of good things happening, but you got to hit enough people. So sometimes you got to bootstrap that up, doing things that don't scale. And at this point, like, if I were to comment on blogs, it just wouldn't make sense. Like, it's not going to move the needle very much at all. So it's just not worth doing. So, but when you're starting out, you do some of those things that don't scale, and then eventually you got to figure out bigger and better ways to do that. It's kind of like, I mean, and you can compare it to a lot of different things. Like in the real estate investment game, right? You might say, well, if real estate is such a good investment, buying these duplexes and stuff, why don't people that have billions of dollars or millions of dollars buy real estate? Some of them, and the answer is because how many freaking houses would they have to buy? It doesn't work at that. Like, if you've got $500,000 to invest, go buy, like, I'll help you. Let's go buy some fourplexes. Let's go buy some duplexes. Bam, bam, bam. We'll make you retired for life just off of $500,000, guarantee you. But if you've got $50 million to invest, I mean, you can find some big commercial real estate. You're not going to get as high of a return, but I mean, what are you going to do? Buy like 5,000 houses or duplex? Like, it doesn't scale at that point. So that's where there's opportunities. The low hanging fruit kind of changes as you reach a different stage. So figure out where you're at, what stage you're at, and what is the low hanging fruit at that point. And that's where it makes a difference. Even with growing a list, there's something like that too. If you've got a list of 100 people, you're not going to be able to do a promotion with someone who has a list of 100,000 developers. They're not going to care. There's nothing in it for them. But when you get to 50,000, and the same thing is happening on YouTube, right? It's like when I started reaching out to channels when I had like 2,000 subscribers on YouTube to do a collab, or if I want to talk to Brandon Carter and do an interview with him, he's going to be like, dude, I don't even know you. Who are you? Right? But when you got 50,000, you can approach someone who has 500,000 and they're like, okay, yeah. I mean, you don't have nearly as many as me, but you like, if I show up on your channel, I'm going to get, maybe I get 1,000 subscribers. That's not nothing to blink at. It might, sure, it's worth your time. So you kind of got to figure out where that is. Does that make sense? Cool. So let me see here. Question on, is it still worth it? Email marketing has been around for a long time and lots of people trying to make email lists. Are there any platforms with better conversion rates, or is the email list still the best way to go? So yeah, by far, email is still the best way to go. I mean, you name me some platform that converts better than email. I know of not like, I mean, and I'm on a lot of platforms, right? It, Twitter is it's horrible, right? That service isn't even going to be around in 3 years. Someone's not even going to click on a blog post, much less buy something from you. Go ahead and try and sell on Facebook. That's not going to be very effective, and you can't reach your audience without spending money. Even if they've liked you, right? So maybe through groups, that's the kind of Facebook hack is if you can make big groups and possibly sell through there. But yeah, Gary talks about more about social media being next sales channel. The thing is, like, I mean, I like Gary, and obviously he's smarter than me and more successful than me, but he's got the momentum thing enough that he can use Snapchat and Instagram to make money and to make sales. And again, it's like at a scale, everything would work, right? I mean, if you have a large enough scale, or if you're dominating a platform, like if you're the Facebook or the Snapchat or Instagram person, right? Then you've got some opportunity there. But I guarantee you that I would still say that even Gary's strategy, even what he's doing with he's selling, and his strategy is a little bit different. See, it's kind of hard to you kind of got to decide which strategy you're going to go for, and you can switch it up. But Gary's strategy is to be he is the brand and the personality, right? And I kind of model that to some degree with Simple Programmer, but I kind of straddle the line. So there's that strategy, and that's kind of a very, very branding move. It requires huge audiences. It requires huge commitment. You've got to have some kind of personality magnetism to grow that. It's almost like a cultish type of growth. And with that, you're able to sell a lot more effectively through just from people following you. But if you do the other route where you've got a product or your service, and that's what's the thing, you're not a spokesperson, you're not building a church, right? Then you've got to, it's got to be, it's direct marketing. That's like solely. And I'll tell you that even Gary, with whatever he's selling, see, he's not really selling a direct product anymore, right? He's selling at the higher level now. But the marketers that are using Snapchat and that are using Instagram, I guarantee you what they're doing is they're pushing people over to email, and then they're selling them. And that's how they're being effective. I would challenge you to find one person who's selling on one of those platforms that's not doing that, right? And look and see what, if you find people that are selling on the platform, see what they're doing. And now they might be selling you a $5 thing on that platform as a lead magnet. That's kind of a tripwire, and then they're making money on the back end because after you buy that $5 thing, you're going to be on their email list, and then they're going to sell you something, and then they're actually going to make money. But it is very hard. I mean, how are you going to get someone? First of all, like, let's take Snapchat. How does anyone ever buy in Snapchat? You can't, right? And to me, I'm not a big fan of Snapchat at all because it doesn't scale. It seems ridiculous. Like, you're going to build a business that is totally focused on you being there and snapping every day. That's a freaking job. I'm not saying that I couldn't make money on Snapchat. I'm sure I could, but I don't want to be committed to doing that every single day. And if I don't do it, then the business fails, right? With Simple Programmer, what I've been trying to do is build up a catalog of content. So like, you search, you find, people are just randomly finding the website or the YouTube videos, and I can disappear I could be gone for a year and I'm still making money. So let's see. So how much important do you think social sharing buttons are on your blog? So I actually I think I've taken them all off in favor of page speed, because I didn't find them to be very effective at all. Now, there might be a way to make it work, and it might be, so here's kind of the thing you have to think about too, Travis, with this is you can really only have one call to action, right? In whatever you're doing. If it's a blog post, if it's a video or something. Now, I mean, there's some exceptions to that, and you can kind of, and sometimes I fudge it, but you're going to be most effective when you have one call to action. So you got to think about what is your call to action, right? And so if I have a choice, right? If I read a blog post and I'm like, and the last paragraph of the blog post is, this is why you need to follow me on Twitter or share this blog post on Twitter, blah blah blah, and I'm like, this is what I want you to do after you read this article. Click share and share this on Twitter. That could be effective. But having a little link there for someone to, or icons there for people to share, it's just not as likely or as effective. I'd rather be saying, sign up for my email list, get my free course, do that, and then I've got that person that visited the blog one time, and now they're on the email list, and now they're going to come back because I can reach them again. And so to me, that's why that's important. And again, with YouTube, what is my call to action always? My main call to action is subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Because if I get you to subscribe, then I know that you're going to watch more. I can reach you to watch more of my videos, and then I can probably get you to opt in for an email. And then once I've got your email, now I can communicate with you at will. Now I can be the initiator of the communication. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could test it out and see, but I haven't found them to be very effective.
And when you say like one call to action, you mean it's still okay to have multiple instances of the call to a single kind of single action. Like you can have 3 or 4 spots where you're like, hey, sign up for the email or whatnot.
Exactly. You just want to give them one
sign up for email versus like do Twitter and Reddit and email and all this stuff.
Yeah, whatever. Exactly. Like you see people that are like, follow me on Instagram and follow me on Twitter and share this and subscribe and buy my new book. That like, it's too much. But if you're like, and I could even do this more effectively, but I guarantee you, if like the most effective thing you could possibly do, like say you're doing a blog post or you're doing a video or something, is to basically lead it all to this one thing. It's all leading up to what I want you to do next, and telling you, and you could say it in multiple places, but click the subscribe button or whatever that thing is, and people are going to be much more likely to be compliant and do it. You have to tell them what to do. And that's, if you look at my sales copy, if you look at sales page and stuff, it's like, buy it. That's right. The call. That there's no other distraction stuff. There's no links going to anywhere else. There's no watch this video or do this thing. It's like, buy it, because that's what I want you to do. That's the next step I want you to take. And so you've got to call that out. So I think that a lot of that sharing stuff can mess that up, and social media just is not very effective anymore with the noise ratio. It just, getting something to go viral just doesn't happen. Like I can't even think of anything that I've had. I mean, very few times have I ever had something go even close to viral on any social media platform. And I post all my stuff on there, and I've had share links and stuff. Hacker News is different, but aside from that, it's very difficult. So I think your best bet is the long trudge of creating a lot of content, so that you have the long tail where people are where search engines is what brings you. And the nice thing about search engines is that it's steady. You can count on that, right? But whether it be YouTube or whether it be Google, now some algorithm changes and things can happen, but in general, if you're getting 5,000 page views a day today or this month, you're probably going to get 5,000 page views a day next month. And that's something that you can count on and build an actual business on. Whereas if you're like, okay, well, I did this one blog post and I got a bunch of shares on Twitter, well, now you got to replicate that in order to sustain your business. And it's really hard to hire employees when you don't have steady income coming in. And if you want to scale and you want to grow, you have to have that. And I had that challenge for a long time with Simple Programmers. I had these revenue, and so I can't hire someone. I can't, because I can't. But now it's like we're steady. Now it's like, okay, there's enough money coming in every month. I can pay my paycheck. I can pay a couple other people's paycheck. And so we can keep them on, and now we can expand. So let's see, all these buzzwords, any good resources for online email marketing? What comes first, email list, or product? Okay. So,
Chicken or the egg?
so I think, there's not a lot of great resources for online email marketing. I think is a digital marketer. That's probably the people that I would probably respect the most as a digital marketer. Ryan Dice's stuff. And they actually have a digital marketing certification program and stuff. Like I'm thinking about actually hiring like a junior marketer person and just putting them through the certification stuff because their stuff is really solid. It's good stuff. I think it's pretty reasonably priced. Like I would go through that. So they'll probably tell you, a lot of the same stuff that I'm saying. That's how you can get the education, I think, and from people that you could trust. Whereas, you could read just a ton of books on marketing and whatnot. That's kind of how I built it up over the years. But as far as like what comes first, email list or product, it's got to be email list. In fact, I put my entrepreneurial course on hiatus, but one of the I'll probably resume it next year, but one of the steps that I have you do is I have you build your audience first and start building your email list, and then only when you get to 1,000 people on your email list do I say now it's time to create a product and sell it, because you got to have enough where it's going to make sense. Because remember, what do we talk? We talked about like conversion rates on email lists, and let's say that if you launch your first product to your brand new list, it's probably going to have, you can probably count on a 2% conversion rate, right? And so let's say that you have $100 product, okay, and you've got a list of 100 people and a 2% conversion rate. Well, there's a margin of error in there, but if you convert it at 2%, you're going to go through the whole process of creating emails, of doing a sales pitch, of doing a launch, of creating a landing page, of creating the product. And what are you going to get at the end of the day from your 100 people on your email list? 2 Benjamins, $200. It's not going to be worth it. It's going to feel like a failure. And there's a margin of error there, right? Because 100 is not a very big sample size. So even if you have a 2% conversion rate, you're going to have a standard deviation from that, and you could sell 0, and that is going to crush you. You're going to be sad. You're going to be sad panda all over the place. It's not going to be a happy experience, and you're going to feel like you failed, and you won't even know if you succeeded or failed because it could just be margin of error. It could just be luck or timing. If you got 1,000 people on your email list and you launch a product, if you get that 2% conversion rate, it's a $100 product, you're making $2,000. Now, to some people, that's not a lot of money. To someone who's creating their first thing online and their own thing to themselves, $2,000 is a thrill. It's like the best money you ever made in your life. You are so excited about it. It's awesome, right? So, and it's much more likely that you're going to do that, because even if with standard deviation, I mean, you could sell 0, but the chances are now that you're going to sell 20. Right. And maybe you sell 15, or maybe you sell 25, but you'll at least have success. If you sell 0, if you launch it to a list of 1,000 people and you sell 0, you got a problem there. Most likely it's not luck. Most likely there's something wrong with your offer. There's something wrong with your product. There's something wrong with your list. Like you're not getting the right people, or you're getting spam or people that are just signing up and they don't care about your stuff. So that's why I think that you got to get the list first, because if you get a product out there in the vacuum, and that's the other thing is too, right? That's why I'm so focused on building the audience, is because for 2 reasons. One, if you just throw a product out there in the vacuum, we already talked about conversion rates, right? If you're doing advertising, Facebook ads or whatever to try and sell, you're going to spend $10,000 figuring out whether or not it actually even works or is profitable. And just to try to get advertising working, if it will even work at all for your product, and you don't have any market validation really of that. And then second, because those conversion rates are going to be abysmal. And then second of all, like your conversion rate, one of the reasons why conversion rate is so high on email typically is because you've established relationship and built trust, right? And so like you can sell something to someone if they like you, even if they don't want the things. To some people, right? Some people are like, I guarantee you there's some people in Simple Programmer audience that will be like, I don't care what John is selling, I am going to buy it. because I just want to get more of his stuff, right? And I have brands that I'm that loyal to that I'm like, I don't care, what. there's authors that I will buy every book that they produce in the instant I'm pre buying that book, just because I like their stuff. They're awesome. I love them. So that's extremely powerful. And so that's why building the audience and building the list first is really, really important. You're producing other content for them, you're nurturing them down, and you're making it more likely that you're gonna. It's so much easier to make the sale, right? It's the difference between if you just launch a product and then you try and sell it, and you don't have an email list, and you don't have relationships, and you don't have an audience. You're going door to door with the Hoover vacuum cleaner, and you're like, can I spill some crap on your carpet and buy it? Yeah, you're gonna maybe make some sales. It's gonna be really friggin' hard to do it. But if you have an email list, it's like you're now you got a Tupperware party. Now you're inviting your friends over, right? And now they're coming over, and everyone's gonna buy something because they want to just support you in your Tupperware party. You know what I'm saying? It's more of that kind of feel. Like it's like that's why those MLMs. That's why DoTerra and the you know herbal essences, oils or whatever, and all that Mona V crap. That's why it sells so well, is because it's based on the relationships as opposed to door-to-door salesmen. I know. Thank you. I'm spot on the analogies today. We'll see. I'll have to use some of those in the future. All right, I guess I better get going here. Hopefully, you guys found that useful. Thanks for showing up.
Thanks for the advice.
Yeah. All right, guys. Take care. Hey, let me know what happens with that job too, Travis, with the promotion.
Oh yeah, give me a couple weeks, and I'll probably shoot you an email for
All right.
use in all of your other marketing or whatever.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. Just wanted to let you know real quickly, if you enjoyed this little session here, it's a weekly call that I have the first Friday of every month, and you can get access to it. You can actually be part of the conversation, talk to me live, talk with other people, ask your questions. It's actually, you can do it for really cheap. All you got to do is click here on this patron page, and this is how I'm doing it for now. It may change in the future, price may go up, but right now at the $20 a month level, if you sign up there, you'll get access to this, and you'll get invited to the call, which I'll post on the Patreon page every single first Friday of the month. Right now it's at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and that's probably what the time will stay on that. If you can't make the live call, you do get access to the recording right away, whereas I put them on the YouTube channel much later, so that's a patron only thing. There's a lot of other cool stuff there that you can get access to, including signed copies of the book and shirts and all that, and in the Facebook group, which was pretty cool as well. But I don't plug this that much because I'm not sure that I'm going to stick with the Patreon route, but this is your chance to get access if you want to, if you enjoy this kind of conversation. I hope to talk to you live next time. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you later. Take care.